Story 1. Jelly Belly brought out those Harry Potter every flavor jelly beans, and the vomit-flavored one literally made me vomit. The other flavors were awful too. Never again. Story 2. Liver. I literally vomited 2 or 3 times before I choked down one bite. Beef liver, specifically, but I'm not touching any liver again. I'd rather set myself on fire than eat that ever again. Story 3. It's fake vegan tuna. I'm married to a vegetarian, so I eat a fair amount of meat substitutes, which range from absolutely fine to a little disappointing. But this was something else. The only accurate part of tuna is the no. Story 4. Fast food. That's it, I'm done. This time last year, I was 50 pounds lighter because I always ate at home, maybe a meal a day and a snack. Then I decided to stop cooking for myself as much and started using drive-thrus every now and then. Now I'm at 200 pounds. If I eat healthily as I did when cooking for myself, I'm fine. If I eat food that has no nutritional value, meaning it all turns to fat, I've proven it to myself. I'm done. Story 5. I consider myself to be very open-minded about food, and I'm willing to try almost anything. At the time, I was definitely feeling a fear of missing out watching others eating them and raving about them. I knew that raw oysters are a highly risky food. I ignored my intuition and ate them anyway. Had brutal food poisoning that night. Never again. Story 6. Green beans. My parents forced my brother and me to eat them as kids. It was their choice of the mandatory family vegetable for us. We also had to eat a lot of disgusting canned green beans. Yes, my parents ruined green beans for me for life. My mom has told me many times how she was forced to eat beets as a kid by her mom, and now she cans them. Yes, it's the same situation for me with green beans. Story 7. A lot of things I enjoyed regularly when I was younger, like Flamin' Hot Cheetos, ramen noodles, Easy Mac, and others I just don't care for anymore as I get older. Story 8. Wasabi. The first time I ordered sushi, I thought wasabi was a complimentary dessert. It looked like cookie dough. I threw the whole wasabi ball in my mouth and bit down. I thought I was going to die. Story 9. Pesto pasta from the United States, meal ready to eat. This isn't coming from a meal ready to eat hater who just complains about all of them. Most of them are fine for me, but that one is vile. No amount of time in the field or level of hunger will make it edible. Story 10. Anything from Popeyes, super nasty. Actually had to spend the night in a hotel because I did not want to spend an hour on the train feeling sick on the way home. Story 11. I grew up in South Florida with all kinds of awesome fruit trees in our yard. The gigantic mango tree would drop so many mangoes. They would rot and smell terribly. Then, running around barefoot, I would step on them and it would squish through my toes like dog poop. I can't even stand the sight of mangoes. And the smell. A gag. Story 12. Years ago, my then-boyfriend took me to a sushi restaurant. This was in the early 1980s when I don't recall sushi being a thing. The sushi was coming around on a conveyor belt slowly, and you chose the one you wanted. My boyfriend made several selections for me because none of them looked good to me. At one point, he chose one with squid. I told him I didn't want to try it. He asked me to please try it. I asked him why. He said, "Because I know I'll never be able to talk you into sushi again." So I took a bite, and that was the last time I tried sushi 40 years ago. Story 13. Activia yogurt. The first time I tried it, I was sick for 24 hours. Was it the probiotics or just a bad batch? I don't know, but I don't care to test it. This was about 16 years ago, and I still shudder when I see it. Story 14. Peanut butter. When I was 5, someone rammed peanuts into my mouth, which made me choke really badly. Ever since, I've been violently repelled by the smell of peanut butter. Story 15. Since I generally mention the same few foods when I see these questions, I'll choose something different this time. Gazpacho. I don't know if I spelled it correctly, but I don't care. I believe it was invented in hell. Story 16. The Filipino dish, balut. I had one for the first time and it was a bad batch. I had food poisoning that got me hospitalized for a few days. I got traumatized from touching it ever again. The food is probably okay for other people and I do not judge people for eating it, but it is a no for me, dog. I am Filipino, by the way. Story 17. Apricots got dared by my cousin to eat as many as possible when I was like 7. I tried to beat a teenager as a small 7-year-old. Yeah, let's just say I don't eat them anymore. Story 18. Went to Hong Kong for an internship. Got taken out by the group for a welcome meal. Had no idea about the cruelty to which I was contributing. Story 19. Somehow, one with a pit snuck itself into a can of pitted olives, and I nearly broke a tooth while trying not to throw up. That was nearly 2 years ago, and I haven't touched black olives since. Story 20. My grandma's homemade chicken and noodles. It was divine, and nothing I've had has been able to match it. She would only make it at Thanksgiving after a while, so it became extra special for people. I got sick and stuck in the hospital 1 year for about a month, and she brought me this humongous bowl of them with a SHH and a wink. Story 21. Corn fritters. I went on the Gravitron twice in a row and got motion sick the rest of the day. This was immediately after eating them at the fair. The faint smell is nauseating to me 25 years later. I also can't do honey butter anymore, which is a shame. Story 22. Cuttlefish. Ordered it when on vacation, having never heard of it, and thought, why not? Turns out it isn't really a fish and was not good. Had I known what it looked like, I never would have ordered it. Story 23. Sushi with wasabi. The sushi by itself was SOSO, but putting that wasabi on it ruined it, and I couldn't touch another one because that's all I could taste for the rest of the day. Story 24. Liver and tapioca. I was forced to eat them at infant school. I forced the tapioca down. Another day was liver. It was the only choice left. I didn't want anything, but they put it on my plate anyway. I couldn't stand the smell, so I tripped over and faked an injury. Story 25. Grape juice. I once drank so much of it as a kid that I threw up all over the people sitting behind us at my sister's cheerleading competition. Even the smell of grape juice makes me nauseous now. Story 26. Anything with more legs than should be allowed. It's just creepy. Shrimp? No. Crab? Those sea spiders? Oh hell no. Octopus? Nope. Yes, I've tried. I really have. I just can't get past the too many legs thing. Story 27. I will never eat ham. I was given ham as a kid and threw it up every time. Parents finally got the hint. I have no issue with breakfast sausage and bacon, but traditional ham makes me nauseous. Story 28. No organ meat. Maybe a little bit of turkey giblets chopped very fine in the gravy, but that's it. I was tricked into eating hog brains and eggs once as a child. My grandfather was an evil man. Story 29. Kellogg's cereals, any American flour and products containing American flour, ketchup from the United States, the food companies are lost and have lost any fiduciary responsibility to the American consumer. Story 30. Crab cakes. I know it's weird, but I didn't like them as a kid, and they smell terrible to me even though I eat crab. My parents tried to force me to eat them as a kid, which made me hate them even more. Story 31. Chipotle. I got a to-go order that was obviously a spite meal, even though it was my first time trying the restaurant. Stale chips, awful veggies, and poorly sealed, so it leaked in the bag. Never again. Forget those guys. Story 32. Fried okra. Unfortunately, I found out that I don't chew my food very well. I got a little too drunk one night after having some okra and almost choked to death on whole okra multiple times while throwing up. Now that's the only thing I can envision when someone even says the word okra to me. This is worse for me because I work at a barbecue place that serves fried okra, and I often have to put on the biggest poker face when I get questions about its quality from our customers. Story 33. Pita pit, we ate it last year. Next day, woke up violently vomiting, not with food poisoning, but with gastrointestinal flu. It was horrible. I don't blame Pita Pit, but I just can't do it for a while and maybe forever. Story 34. Soup. Got food poisoning a few years ago from it and just never again. It has the exact same texture going down as it does coming back up. Liquid with chunks. Story 35. I'm not particularly sensitive to textures, but oysters just have nothing positive going for them. The texture is slimy, the taste is basically salt water, and they're expensive. I watch people eating them, just slurping and swallowing, and all I think is that's not how you eat something you enjoy. Story 36. Fried chicken from places like Kentucky Fried Chicken or Popeyes. The smell is horrendous. The chicken is greasy and oily, tastes like crunchy coated grease and oil. The smell makes me dry heave, which is unfortunate because there is a Chicken Express near my workplace and disgusting. Story 37. I had that octopus dish when visiting Seoul. They pour on soy sauce and the octopus starts moving. Then you quietly become the center of attention until you finish a few bites. It wasn't bad, but something moving in your mouth is unpleasant. Story 38. Tongue. I had no idea what animal it was, nor did I know it was tongue when ordering. I ate it in Japan in a less touristy area, and I was the only adult in my group going to a restaurant. There were no English menus, and Google Translate is awful in Asian countries. I picked a sampler platter. I did not know what the unpleasant food I ate was until I came back with colleagues, and they pointed out what I had eaten. To each their own, but not enough Coca-Cola on earth could have taken the taste out of my mouth. Story 39. Durian. Tried it in Indonesia. It made me super nauseous and tasted like garbage smells. Tried durian ice cream in Singapore. Even that made me feel sick. It just doesn't agree with me, I guess. Story 40. For me, it's funnel cake. When I was a young girl, about 7 years old, I made the mistake of getting funnel cake at the Washington State Fair. I don't know why, but that funnel cake made me vomit. Ever since then, I haven't been able to eat funnel cake. Just thinking about it makes me a tiny bit nauseous, but I want to try it again someday. Story 41. We had a boneless lamb leg for New Year's dinner. I grilled it on a kamadu with light mild applewood, low and slow for a few hours, with a traditional lamb rub my wife made. It was actually done perfectly, cooked to a medium well, very moist, extremely tender, and had a nice crust. But for me, it just lacked any flavor. It was very underwhelming. I did not dislike it, but I can say it's probably something I wouldn't do again. Story 42. It was the only thing my ex-mother-in-law could cook, and it was cooked 5 times a week. After a 10-hour shift and an hour's commute from work, it quickly became the last thing I wanted to eat. Story 43. Crickets. My professor wanted to expose us to what most of the world eats, and rice was too normal. I tried them in a brownie first, then roasted. They actually tasted like peanuts but crunchier. And then a rash formed on my thigh and my mouth started tingling. Story 44. Andouillette. It's a French sausage made from pig intestines. It has a very strong, unpleasant odor. The flavor is not to my liking. I thought I should try some French food in Paris. I should have just had a burger. Story 45. Spaghetti with long noodles. Mom was stressed, I guess, when I was a kid, and a lot of her hair fell out into it. We didn't notice until we ate a lot of it, and my dad screamed at us for laughing about it. But we were kids and didn't understand. Thinking about that makes me want to vomit. Story 46. Bananas. I used to love them as a child. Then I peeled one and it came out all mushy. It was right at that perfect age where the event stuck with me, and I haven't had one since. Story 47. I was unwittingly served it in the Philippines by some fishermen. It was caught in a trawler net as unintended bycatch, so it was already dead and illegal to sell. The fishermen just eat it themselves so it doesn't go to waste. I thought the dish was fish stew, but the fish meat was dark and slightly rubbery. I asked what sort of fish it was, and they grinned and replied, "Dolphin." Story 48. Surströmming. To be clear, I've never had it and likely never will. Someday maybe I'll get up the courage to just smell it. I have a strange fascination with the YouTube videos, though. Story 49. Ranch dressing, even the smell of it makes me gag. Basically, think of the reactions of those people on the Maury show getting chased with pickles or mustard. It's real, folks. Story 50. A Caesar cocktail, Canadian Bloody Mary. Had a neighbor concoct one for me, and it was absolutely horrendous. Why on earth would you mix Clamato, vodka, hot sauce, Worcestershire sauce, and think that it would taste good is beyond me. Story 51. Sea urchin. I wanted to like it so badly because I love seaforward flavors, but one bite was enough to make me hurl in the middle of the restaurant. The texture did not help either. Story 52. Tried a steak once when I was like 8 since I apparently picked it off the menu, and I remember it being like chewing gum. I kept chewing and chewing, and it just didn't break down. The fact that it is pink weirds me out because I can't help but feel that it's raw, and I'm eating raw beef. Story 53. Plantains. Not because there is anything wrong with plantains, they are fine. But the first time I ate one, I threw up 3 times that same day because of a bad reaction to new medication, and now I will forever associate plantains with that. Story 54. Starved myself to lose 70 pounds in college by eating plain salads with chicken and Kellogg's Special K with red berries for a year. To this day, 20 years later, I can still smell that cereal. Story 55. Burger King. And not in a holier-than-thou, fast food sucks kind of way. I love fast food, and the Whopper used to be one of my favorite things. But one night, around 15 years ago, I threw up after eating one. The memory of that taste and smell has never quite left my brain. I cannot even walk into a Burger King now without getting a stomach ache. Story 56. Sardines. Can't stand them. I worked with a teacher who loved them, and all the other teachers couldn't stand them because they made the teacher's room reek, and they couldn't enjoy their lunches. So, he started bringing them every day because he thought this was hilarious. No one else was amused. They smelled terrible. Story 57. Lutefisk. And I'm Norwegian. I have only tried it once at a Sons of Norway dinner, and it's so disgusting. They tell you to put a lot of sauce on it, and it wasn't any better. They also told me that you have to develop a taste for it. I would rather eat things that I like to eat and don't have to get used to. Story 58. Duck butt or duck tailbone. My Chinese boss offered it to me and I didn't want to be rude, so I ate it. Tasted like 5-spice and unpleasant. Now I realize he was messing with me. Completely. Story 59. Ballot. Tried it for the thrill back in university and just never again. The sight was disturbing, but the smell of that boiled amniotic fluid that stayed on my hands the entire day was just abhorrent.